All right, welcome. We are live, and this is the Client Alchemy Show, episode number 4. Episode number 4, we're going to be talking about to be free and to lead others to freedom. And that's today's Alchemy Show. Welcome to the Client Alchemy Show, where we talk about how to leverage the power below the surface to create a consistent flow of your ideal client. And we use little sticky notes as slides. My name is Dov Gordon. You can find me at dovgordon.net. The Alchemist entrepreneur in our little company focuses on helping consultants, coaches, experts who are looking to add $100,000 to $500,000 a year to their bottom line consistently. And there's a fly, just started flying right around the office here. So today we're diving into episode number 4, which builds on episodes 1, 2, and 3 that came earlier. So at various points, I might reference something from an earlier episode. You can go and catch an earlier episode by going to our Facebook page, fb.com/consistent flow of clients. I killed it. That was not expected. fb.com/consistent flow of clients. All right. So today's episode is to be free and to lead others to freedom. In episode 3, we talked about this idea of alchemy. It's an analogy that I used, and we talked about what I actually mean by it, because it's quite different from what most people mean by it. And what I mean by it is that, as I see it, the alchemists of old, those who are said to have been trying to turn lead into gold, they weren't these crazy nut jobs. But on some level, they believed, they imagined that if we can get to the underlying structure of the lead, then we can leverage it and turn it into something more valuable. So the idea was, if we can get to the underlying structure, we can leverage it, create more value, excuse me. Now, naturally then, whenever you're looking at a situation, there are going to be the majority of people who see one thing, and then there's the alchemist who sees something else, because the alchemist looks at a situation and has learned how to see below the surface, beyond the superficial, and what he or she can then do is leverage the underlying structure of the situation, whatever it might be, a sales conversation, a marketing opportunity, it doesn't matter, I mean, it's endless, and turn it into something more valuable. For an example that's easy to see, if you're a surgeon, right, you look at the human body in a very different way from the average person, because you look at the functioning systems, and using your tools, you can help somebody who's in danger of dying from a heart attack to, regain their health, or okay, because you understand the underlying structure of the situation. When it comes to business, marketing, sales, creating, increasing your impact and your influence and your income, it's really the same thing, but it's, of course, it's not as clearly defined. So what we did in the last episode, episode number 3, was I walked you through how to actually look at that in a more defined way. You can go and watch that at facebook.com/consistent flow of clients. Eventually, we're going to have it on YouTube as well. All right, so again, when it comes to these types of situations, most people see a very limited number of things. They see the surface. They're skidding across the surface. They're not getting very deep. That's the average person. And the alchemist, or somebody who has mastered a situation, has learned to see the underlying structure. Oh gosh, it came back to life. All right. Okay, where the average person sees limitation, the alchemist sees freedom. Where the average person sees limitation, the alchemist sees freedom. And where the average person sees freedom, the alchemist sees limitation. And today, in whatever area, you might only be seeing the superficial, the surface level of a certain area. But tomorrow, by focusing on deepening your understanding of how that domain works, you can be seeing things, you can be seeing the invisible, so to speak, right? And you can start to create magic. When you see the invisible, you're able to cause things to happen that looks quite magical to other people. All right, and the only real difference is that you learn to see below the surface, so to speak. And this is why some people have are able to get so much more done. They could just see things that other people don't see. They see things and then they're acting on things that most people are just skidding across the surface. They're missing what really matters. And again, if you've mastered your craft, I don't care if you're a really good lawyer, a really good consultant, a really good coach, a heart surgeon, whatever craft you've mastered, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm saying, because the average person is, they're dabblers, of course, hopefully not with heart surgery, but there are the few, violin playing, anything. There are a few, chess, who have done really well, and they are the ones who are, who know how to take this deep. Okay, so this is what we'll be talking about today, with a particular focus on the idea of freedom. And it's a really important idea, and I do not plan to speak about it or look at it in the way that most people think about it, speak about it, look at it. And I think if you've watched the previous episodes, if you're on our email list for dovgordon.net, then you're probably know that that's going to be true. So quick break to just say thank you to all of you who have shared our previous episodes at facebook.com/consistent flow of clients. Scroll down there. I really appreciate those of you who've shared it. This is something really new, and I put a lot of time and effort into it. And today, our email announcing this actually just went out late, but we're sticking to the time. Hopefully, if you're joining us now, you have a chance to just go to facebook.com/consistent flow of clients and help us share this onwards with others. It's a big favor for people who receive it, hopefully. It helps me, of course, and I appreciate your efforts to help us get some really good quality training out there further along. All right. You could also like it, leave a comment or a question on the Facebook page, and I'll get back to you. All right, let's dive into today's main segment, episode number 4 of the Client Alchemy Show, where we talk about how to leverage the power below the surface to create a consistent flow of ideal clients. As we said in the opening, the alchemist sees freedom where other people see limitation, and he or she sees limitation where other people see freedom. Let's look at this idea that we call freedom. People often assume that freedom is the ability to do anything that you want, right? Without external limits, right? No limitations, freedom, total choice. It means having the money to buy anything you want, whenever you want, to travel anywhere, to go anywhere, to do anything with whoever you want. That's often the idea that we associate with freedom. But is this true freedom? No limitations, absolute complete choice. Is that really the freedom is that really freedom at all? And is that the freedom that we're after? Quick question to frame this. Who's free, right? Who's free? Is the person who eats donuts, what happened here? Are we frozen? Turn the camera back on. All right, I think we're back. Is the person who eats donuts and, what do you think of that drawing, by the way? The person who eats donuts and, iced coffees and ice cream and who knows what, candies, and is this person who eats anything they want to eat, as much of it as they want? Is that person free? Is that person free, right? Or is the person who limits themselves and has perhaps a donut here and there and some ice cream here and there, where they'll enjoy these goodies from time to time in moderation? Who's free? Well, it looks like the person who eats all those donuts and ice cream and everything, it looks like that person is free, because he can do anything he wants whenever he wants. That's until he comes down with diabetes, and suddenly now he's limited by the medications that he has to be on. He's limited by all the foods that he can't eat, because it'll literally put him put his life in danger, right? So whereas the other person who had set limits, that person can still eat whatever he or she wants in moderation. So who really is free? What about alcohol, right? Is the person who drinks all the alcohol he wants, is that person free? Or is the one who has some in moderation? Same story over there. Think about Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is an amazing organization that I think it's over 80 years, they've helped millions, I believe tens of millions of people free themselves from the bondage of addiction to alcohol. Now, what is their most famous precept? I would I'm pretty sure that the most famous precept of the Alcoholics Anonymous is probably the very first step, where they say we admit we are powerless, right? We admit we are powerless. We admit we are powerless over alcohol and that our lives have become unmanageable. How could it be that the first step to freedom is to admit that you're powerless, right? How could that be? Isn't that admitting to a limitation? And what about that idea that freedom is that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, for as long as you ever want, right? Well, when you look more closely at this pop culture idea of freedom, it very quickly begins to crumble. So what if freedom is actually something that you achieve first, rather, it's not something, sorry, let me say that. What if freedom is something that you, not something that you've achieved, like you've achieved this ability to have, there's no limitations, no limitation, and you have total choice, right? What if this idea of freedom is not something that you achieve, but it's something that you are? What if freedom is first who you are, who you become? It's something in your mind first, and then it shows up in your external world, in your finances, in your ability to have choices, okay? First be free, in other words, first be free, and then you'll have a consistent flow of ideal clients. And then you won't have to worry about money. The irony is that you become free when you learn to see limitations where other people see freedom. And you learn to see freedom where other people see limitations. Very simple examples, as we saw, we talked about the donuts and the alcohol, right? You can't eat as many donuts as you want and stay free. You can't drink as much as you want and stay sober and in control, okay? Is it the fact that we can have all the information in the world available to us 24/7 at tips of our fingers in our pockets? Is that freedom? For many, it's not. For many, we're in many ways enslaved to the information, the technology, or whatever else is available. Gaming for many, right? So I think what we have to actually do is take a step back and look beyond the way most people think about freedom. What is that we're actually aspiring to? What are we actually heading towards? Because it's something that a lot of us are subconsciously heading towards, whether we mean it or not. And take a quick look at what's the reality here. Okay, the reality is that you're not free to eat and drink and do anything that you want. You're not free to have 24/7, if you have 24/7 access to everything at the tips of your fingers, right? And you're not free when you sit down in your office to work and you're all over the place. You have all these different things that you could be doing or feel that you should be doing. That's not freedom. Freedom is when you have a simple plan that you know is going to work. That you know, if I work this plan, it'll bring me clients. That's free. Then you're free because then you know what you need to do. You need to work the plan. You follow the steps. The plan limits you. It says only do this. Don't do all that. Just do this. If you just do this, then you'll get the results that you want. Then you'll end up with choice. Okay? And that's really what you want. You want to have a certain degree of choice. You never have total freedom from limitation, but you'll have more choice. Certainly have more choice. That's certainly possible. So when all the options are open to you, you get drawn into information overload. You end up chasing shiny objects. You end up piling up all sorts of information and courses, but you never really implement consistently. And this is why I say that you need limitation to achieve freedom. Now in episode 3, which I mentioned earlier again, episode 3, we talked about how to always know what to do first. And I shared the basics of a marketing plan that's based in the reality in your ideal client's mind. All right, I'm not going to go into it again, but go look up episode number 3 at facebook.com/consistent flow of clients. And you'll see I walked you through a very simple framework of how to create a plan for a marketing and selling system to consistently attract ideal clients. And it's rooted in the limitations that matter, right? What are those? The 3 core questions that your ideal client will ask themselves that you need to help them answer yes, 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 and then they want to work with you. Okay, so make sure you catch episode 3 if you didn't catch it yet. Now, you can also, we also said that you can see a more detailed training on that whole thing at dovgordon.net/be noticed. All right, you can go to here as well, and that takes the whole plan into a more detailed, in-depth process, how to be on this training there, dovgordon.net/be noticed. I'm probably giving you too many choices today, so really just focus on episode 3, and then that will lead you to the be noticed if you like. All right. Now, quick recap, because we're focusing on this idea that most people think when I have money, then I'll be free, right? This is how most people think about it. When I have money, then I'll be free. The alchemist entrepreneur sees freedom where others see limitation. And I think the real truth is that when you are free, first I'll be free, and then I'll have plenty of money, all right? And I like to end off all of these shows by looking at something really simple that you can do as a next small step. Because when you take the time to implement a next small step, then it's a step forward. You're beginning a process that kind of moves you further down the road than you ever would have been. And then you start to see opportunities that you couldn't see before. It's taking the next small step. Because if you accept my idea that first be free, and then you achieve the options of choice, right? If you accept that idea, first freedom, then choice, then what is an easy way that you could start to be free right now? And I'm reminded when I think about this of Stephen Covey's 2 circles. Stephen Covey's 2 circles, let me see here. Where did well, I'll show you. Stephen Covey talks about 2 circles, right? One is called, the outer one is called the circle of concern, right? And this includes all sorts of issues that you might be concerned about, the circle of concern, right? Maybe there's nuclear war, maybe there's terrorism, maybe there's the economy, and who knows what, right? All sorts of things that you might be concerned about, but there's not really anything you can do about it. Then there's a smaller circle, and that, he says, is called the circle of influence. And of course, it's on the inside. These are things that you're concerned about, but you can influence them. You can do something about them. And what happens is that we have a choice every single day. Where do we focus? What do we actually do? So what he says is if you spend your time focused on the things in the circle of influence, outside the circle of concern, meaning you're spending your time reading the news, watching Twitter and who knows what, and Facebook and reading all the websites and watching all the things that you are worried about or on your mind, but you can't act on, then you're not acting in the circle of influence. And what you end up with is, you end up with a shrinking, I'm not going to get all the issues, right? But a shrinking circle of concern because you're not doing what's in front of you to do. Sorry, shrinking circle of influence. Your influence shrinks. Every day that you sit around not doing what you really could be doing, your influence shrinks. Just the opposite, of course, is if you are the person who you have all these different circle, these issues that everybody has, but you spend your time focusing today, not on the things that you're worried about or that you can't control, but you focus on what can I control? What can I influence? Over time, your circle of influence expands, right? Whereas you started off over here, where there's not that much you can influence. Over time, it expands and it expands and it expands, right? And you're able to influence more and more and more because you focus on the thing that you actually control. Now, you might be very familiar with this if you've read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read it years ago as a teenager. Millions of others have, but I think it's a very relevant idea or insight for what we're talking about. So I want you to, because you need, here, let me clarify why. It's because so often we don't do what's right in front of us because we're worried about what will be 2, 3, 4, 5 steps down the line. I don't know how I'll manage the second thing. I'll cross this bridge right in front of me, but maybe I won't because I don't know how I'll do that. And this paralyzes people. And the idea is, first, be free. Choose freedom, and then you'll have more choice, okay? First, be free, and then you'll have more clients, you'll have more money. How do you do that? You do that by focusing on the things you can control, and then your sphere of influence increases and you can control more and more and more. And you'll have your influence is constantly improving. People want to work with you. And obviously, assuming you're looking to get clients consistently, this is the Client Alchemy Show. And we're focused on helping you see the power below the surface to create a consistent flow of clients. So this is what I mean by be free. And I want to give you a very simple next step. All right, very simple next step is ask yourself right now, what are 3 things that lie within my circle of influence? What are 3 small things? And they really should be small. It could be as small as a phone call that you should be making, an email you should be writing, a meeting you should attend, something, an article you should write. Something small that really won't take that much. What is something small that you should be doing that is a step in the right direction, as small a step as it actually may be? Make a list and then pick one of those things and do it today. And the result is you've just chosen freedom. You've just chosen freedom. And when you choose freedom, you end up with more choice. So again, freedom is not something that you achieve. When freedom is something that you are, it results in more choice, more money, more clients, more impact, influence, and income. And this is something you can do right now. Now, in a moment, I'll check to see if there are any questions. Before we wrap up, I just want to let you know that if you are a consultant, a coach, an expert, somebody who would like to be adding $100,000 or more to your bottom line in the next 12 months, then reach out to me because we probably can help you. Go to dovgordon.net/chat, fill out the form there, so that gives me some background information, and we'll get back to you pretty quickly to schedule a time to talk. 10, 15 minutes, quick chat, just to get a sense of each other, for me to get a sense as whether you're somebody that I really feel I can help. And if you are, we'll figure out the next steps together. For some people, for some of you, this is your next step. This is exactly the one thing that falls inside your circle of influence. It's something you can actually do. And this probably should be what you do. Go to dovgordon.net/chat and fill out the form. For others, maybe your next step should be to just ask a question. And let's go see if there are any questions. If there are any questions, if you're with us live on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand. Or let's see here. Let's see if we could find there is a way you can ask. There's a hand raising button somewhere. Somewhere there is a chat button. You can use the chat. And if we do not have questions, then we will just call it a day. All right. Let's give it another minute while I also check Facebook. And if you have any, thanks to those who've given us a like on the Facebook page, appreciate that. Again, if you found this useful, please go to our Facebook page, fb.com/consistent flow of clients, and like, add a comment or a question, and share. If I don't see any questions, so we will call it a day. Great to have you all. And I expect that we'll be back here next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, with episode number 5. Episode number 5, not completely sure what we're going to talk about, but I do think that we will be looking at the question of why is it when we could be acting here, when we should be taking that next small step so that we can experience that freedom, why don't we? Why don't we? And what could we do instead to make that happen? Craig asked a question, is it possible to get bogged down? Craig, who is in our 100-day sprint program, Planning Clients 100-day sprint, good to have you here, in the chat. Is it possible to get bogged down by taking small steps in front of you and not getting to the important stuff? That's a really good question, okay? And I think what you're asking, let me know if you agree. I think what you're asking is what's the balance between just taking the small step right in front of you, whereas making sure you're doing the right things, the right next step? And the way I think about it is this. There are really three things that you need to know. Three things that you need to know. And if you go to dovgordon.net/focus, or is it total focus? Let's look it up. dovgordon.net/total focus, maybe. If not, then it's focus. We have what I have right here on my wall, right here on the wall. This is the article that's there. Yeah, dovgordon.net/total focus. And over there, I've shared my Alchemist Entrepreneur's Credo. And what that looks like is that today, people and circumstances will conspire to make us feel weak, overwhelmed, and as if we don't have a choice but to react and respond. We're in constant danger of being drawn into feeling overwhelmed and out of control. If I relent, I and only I lose. Instead, I will lead by focusing on only three things. Number one is my ultimate destination. What's your ultimate destination? And this connects with what we've talked about every single episode and didn't get to today, but we've talked about every single episode. In episode number 1, we looked at the master model for a consistent flow of clients. Clear goal. What is your ultimate destination? What is it that you really want? And this is the question that everybody thinks they've answered, but very, very few have. Most people do not really know what they want. We're not going after what they want. They're going for what they think they can have, which is a huge difference. So you've got to get clear. Take some time to get clear on your ultimate destination. Number 2, the very next baby step that you can take right now that will bring me so much closer. And that's what we're talking about over here. What's the very next thing that you can do right now from within your circle of influence that will move you a step closer? And number 3, how do I want to be as a person? I'll keep in mind a clear image of the person I want to be. That also takes time to stop and think and reflect on a regular basis until you become that person by default. And be that way right now. Paradoxically, it is being this way that makes my journey my destination. And that really connects with what we're talking about. That first, be free. Be free, and then you'll have the choice. Be free, then you'll have the choice. A lot of people do not take the next step like you have, Craig. They don't work with us. They're afraid to because they figure I can't afford it. I don't have the money. And that's something that we can talk about another time, but you have to actually, and sometimes it's true for people, but most of the time they're just giving into fear instead of asking, okay, what am I really trying to be? What am I trying to achieve? Someone like Elon Musk never, he's like, well, I'm not going to start Tesla because I don't have enough money. I'm not going to start PayPal because I don't have enough money, or SpaceX. No, first what, then how. And it might seem like a crazy exaggeration, but what's missing for people who think they don't have the money is not the money, right? It's not the money. It's first act free. First be free. Be that person, and then you'll have the money. I know it sounds a little crazy, a little mind-bending for those who are not used to this type of thinking, but it's absolutely true. All right. Let's see if we had any other questions. Did I answer your question, Craig? And let me see if I could find. We do have, yes, thanks. Okay, great. And I see we do have a question as well. Holly says, click on questions and answers box. Yes, that is one way of doing it. Actually, here, the holiday was yesterday. In Israel, it's just one day. Everywhere else is 2 days. So that's, yes, we were on vacation yesterday. All right. Any other questions? Last chance. You can use the chat box or the Q&A box, and we will move on. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So have a good day. Again, if you have any questions, you can email us. You can certainly, we are easy to reach. If you're somebody who should be able to add $100,000 or more in the next 12 months and you're feeling stuck, go to dovgordon.net/chat. We don't do things the way most people in our industry do, and you'll find that from your very first contact with us. We are looking for people who are serious, people who really have it in them, who are going to do the work, not afraid of hard work. They just want to know they're working hard on the right things. Have a good day. Talk to you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern. Just be right here.